Imagine for just a moment that you are sitting on your couch watching a live television event that feels like 1,000 others you've seen before. It's an interview with one of the most famous men on the planet on a network that has championed him for nearly a decade. Then suddenly the screen goes black. This wasn't a power outage, and it wasn't a satellite glitch. Fox News just did something they have never, in their entire history, dared to do. They cut away from a live Donald Trump interview right in the middle of a sentence. They didn't just transition to a new segment. They triggered an emergency commercial break because the words coming out of the former president's mouth were so inflammatory, so potentially defamatory, and so completely disconnected from any verifiable reality that the network's legal team apparently made a frantic, real-time decision to pull the plug before another word could be aired. When the cameras finally returned, the host looked visibly shaken, awkwardly announcing that they were experiencing technical difficulties. But anyone watching knew the truth. There was nothing technical about it. This was a moment of pure corporate panic. To truly understand the gravity of this, we have to look back at the history between these two giants. For nearly 10 years, Fox News has been Donald Trump's most reliable, most powerful media ally. They defended him through 2 separate impeachments that rocked the nation. They promoted his claims of election fraud, even when those claims led them into a legal minefield that eventually cost them nearly $800 million in the massive Dominion lawsuit. They gave him a platform and a voice when almost every other major network in the world had turned their backs. From the very start, Fox positioned itself as the one network that would let Trump be Trump. They built their brand on being the unfiltered conduit for his message. But guess what? Even a behemoth like Fox News has a limit. And on live television, Donald Trump didn't just find that limit, he crashed right through it. During this interview, he began doing things that even his most ardent defenders struggled to rationalize. He started accusing specific, named federal judges of taking bribes from political enemies. He claimed, without a shred of evidence, that high-ranking military officials were in the middle of planning an active coup against him to prevent him from taking power. He even began describing, in chillingly graphic detail, exactly what he thought should happen to the people he considers traitors to the country. It is honestly hard to believe that we watched this unfold in real time without the buffer of a delay or an edit. This isn't just a story about one bad interview or a politician losing his temper. We are talking about the most powerful conservative news network in the world deciding that continuing to broadcast the statements of a former president posed an unacceptable legal and ethical risk to their very existence. Trust me, the 90 seconds of footage that aired before they cut away are going to be analyzed by historians, lawyers, and political scientists for decades. Let me fill you in on the deeper context of what has been happening behind the scenes. The relationship between Trump and Fox News has been complicated and fraught with tension lately. After the 2020 election, things began to sour when Fox famously called Arizona for Joe Biden, a move that enraged the Trump camp. Since then, while many hosts continued to support him, there were moments where the network tried to pull back from the most extreme claims. The Dominion lawsuit was the ultimate catalyst for this change. It exposed internal Fox communications that showed hosts and executives were privately mocking Trump's allegations while simultaneously promoting them on air to keep their ratings up. That $787.5 million settlement was supposed to be a final, expensive wake-up call about the catastrophic legal risks of amplifying false claims. But here is where the rubber meets the road. According to a detailed report from Politico on December 5th, Trump appeared on a primetime Fox News program for what was supposed to be a friendly standard interview. It was billed as a discussion about his policy agenda and the upcoming battles in Congress. For the first 15 minutes, everything seemed to be going smoothly. The host was asking softball questions about the economy and his vision for the future of the Republican Party. But then, the host shifted the topic to Trump's ongoing legal troubles and asked how they were affecting his ability to focus on governing. This is the exact moment where everything fell apart. According to multiple sources inside the network who spoke to CNN, Trump's demeanor changed in an instant. He became visibly agitated. His voice rose, he began speaking faster, and he started hurling accusations that sent the network's legal team into an immediate high-alert panic. Before we go any further into the specific accusations that caused this meltdown, please take a second to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Your support helps us keep bringing you these deep dive analyses on stories that matter. And if you're finding this breakdown interesting, share it with a friend. Let's get more people in on this conversation. I want to know your take. Do you think the legal risk was real, or did Fox just get cold feet? Let's keep the discussion going in the comments. Now, let's be real for a second. Fox News cutting away from Trump isn't something that happens because of a little bit of mild controversy or typical political rhetoric. They have aired his rallies for hours on end, often without any interruption or fact-checking. They have let him make countless false claims in the past. For them to cut the feed mid-sentence means their lawyers saw something that absolutely terrified them. According to CBS News reporting from December 5th, Trump began his downward spiral by accusing the federal judge overseeing one of his most high-profile cases of accepting direct payments from George Soros to rule against him. He named the judge specifically on national television. He claimed to have evidence of wire transfers and said the judge should be arrested immediately and tried for treason. This alone would be extraordinarily defamatory, accusing a sitting federal judge of a criminal felony like bribery without providing a single piece of evidence. But Trump was just getting started. He then pivoted to a claim that felt even more dangerous. He asserted that senior Pentagon officials were actively planning what he called a military coup to remove him from office or prevent him from implementing his agenda. He named a specific four-star general and claimed this individual had held secret meetings with Democratic leaders to discuss using military force against him. He said these generals should face military tribunals and, in a quote that chilled many who heard it, said they should face the ultimate punishment for their betrayal. According to sources who were in the Fox control room that night, the network's legal counsel began frantically calling the control booth approximately 45 seconds into this tirade. The decision was made to cut to commercial immediately, but there was mass confusion about how to execute it without looking suspicious. What the viewers eventually saw was the feed cutting abruptly in the middle of a sentence, followed by a jarring and uncomfortable transition to advertisements. Essentially, Trump was making statements that could expose Fox News to another massive defamation liability while simultaneously calling for what sounded like the extrajudicial execution of military officials. The network faced an impossible real-time choice, and in that moment, they chose self-preservation over loyalty. This isn't the first time we've seen Trump lose control in an interview setting or make incredibly inflammatory accusations. His pattern of attacking judges, prosecutors, and anyone else involved in his legal cases has been remarkably consistent throughout his recent troubles. We have spotted this behavior time and time again. Just think back to how he attacked Judge Juan Merchan during his trial in New York. He violated gag orders repeatedly, forcing the court to hold him in contempt over and over again. He simply couldn't restrain himself from attacking the judge's family, the witnesses, and the prosecutors, even when it was clearly and directly harming his own legal position. He paid the fines for contempt and was warned repeatedly that he could face jail time, but the attacks never stopped. Then there was his treatment of special counsel Jack Smith. Trump has called him deranged, a thug, and much worse on a near-daily basis. These attacks became so personal and so threatening that Smith's security detail had to be significantly enhanced because of the sheer volume of threats against him and his family. Trump's rhetoric directly endangered a federal prosecutor and his staff. And let's not forget the heart-wrenching story of the election workers in Georgia, specifically Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. These were two women who were just doing their jobs, counting ballots for their community. Trump's false accusations against them subjected them to a torrent of death threats and harassment, eventually forcing them into hiding for their own safety. They later testified in emotional detail about how their lives were destroyed by these lies. Even his own Attorney General, Bill Barr, who had been one of his most aggressive defenders, wasn't spared. When Barr told the truth about the 2020 election, Trump turned on him instantly, calling him weak, pathetic, and a disappointment. One moment of honesty was enough to end that relationship permanently. Now, it looks like sitting judges and active-duty military officials are the ones in the crosshairs. But this time, it isn't just about bias or unfairness. These are accusations of criminal bribery and planning military coups. This pattern is escalating in a way that many find genuinely dangerous. The rhetoric is getting more extreme with every single interview. The accusations are becoming more serious, and the implied threats are becoming more explicit. So what exactly did Trump say in those unaired moments that caused Fox to pull the plug? According to multiple reporters who have reviewed the unaired footage, Trump's accusations against the federal judge actually included specific dollar amounts he claimed were paid as bribes, along with specific dates when he alleged these payments occurred. He presented this information as established, indisputable fact, not as speculation or personal opinion. This means Fox would have been broadcasting what is legally considered defamation per se, the false accusation of criminal conduct. The kicker, however, was the statement regarding military officials, which many experts found even more alarming. Legal scholars who reviewed the transcripts told MSNBC that Trump appeared to be calling for violence against named individuals. Phrases like ultimate punishment and what traitors deserve, when used in the context of discussing specific named generals, crossed lines that even Trump's most ardent defenders in the media could not rationalize or ignore. According to a Fox News insider who spoke to the Daily Beast on the condition of anonymity, the control room went into complete and total chaos when Trump began the accusations about a military coup. The source described producers screaming into their headsets, lawyers on speakerphones shouting at the staff to cut the feed, and the host looking visibly panicked as she tried and failed to redirect Trump to a different subject. This was the exact moment Fox News realized they had completely lost control of their own broadcast. Trump wasn't listening to the host. He was escalating with every sentence, adding more names, more accusations, and more inflammatory language. The only option left was to cut away entirely. When the network finally returned from that emergency commercial break, the host's announcement of technical difficulties felt hollow to everyone watching. The damage was already done. The portion that did air live was captured by media monitors almost instantly and began circulating on social media like wildfire. Within a single hour, it was the top trending topic across the entire country. And then, as he often does, Trump's team made the situation even worse. Rather than trying to walk back the statements or clarify them, Trump's spokesperson issued a defiant statement accusing Fox News of censoring the president and doing the bidding of the deep state. Trump himself took to Truth Social to post that Fox had revealed themselves as traitors for refusing to let the American people hear what he called the truth about corruption. This has left Fox News in an extraordinarily difficult, perhaps even impossible position. On one side, they have an urgent business need to maintain their relationship with Trump and his massive base of supporters. Fox News viewers are overwhelmingly pro-Trump, and being seen as the network that censors him could drive millions of viewers to competitors like Newsmax or the One America News Network. Their entire business model depends on keeping that audience engaged and loyal. On the flip side, they literally just paid nearly $800 million because they broadcast false claims that exposed them to legal liability. Their legal team is now hypersensitive to any hint of defamation risk. The statements Trump made about the judge alone could trigger another massive, multi-million-dollar lawsuit, and the statements about military officials could potentially be characterized as an incitement to violence. There is no good option available to them. Fox News is caught in a bind of their own making. They can either apologize to Trump and distance themselves from the decision to cut away, which would mean alienating the legal and journalistic standards they claim to uphold, or they can defend the decision on technical or legal grounds and face an all-out war with Trump that could permanently damage their brand with conservatives. It is a mess entirely of their own creation. They have spent years giving Trump unlimited airtime without any pushback, and now they have created a situation where any attempt to exercise editorial judgment is seen by their own audience as a betrayal. This whole scenario is exposing a fundamental tension within conservative media. If Fox News, Trump's most important and influential media ally, is forced to cut away from him because his statements are too dangerous to broadcast, what does that say about Trump's fitness for office? As we wrap up this analysis, I want to remind you one last time to like, subscribe, and share this video. Your engagement is what allows us to keep digging into these complex stories and bringing you the facts that others might gloss over. And please, keep those comments coming. I'm reading as many as I can to see where you all stand on this. Your voice is a huge part of this channel. Other Republican officials and media figures are now left wondering how they are supposed to respond to this. Those Republicans who have spent years defending Trump's rhetoric are now faced with statements that are genuinely and legally indefensible. According to reporting from Politico, several Republican senators were asked about the interview shortly after it aired, and they literally walked away from reporters rather than offering a comment. They know there is no good answer that doesn't either anger Trump or sound completely irrational. Meanwhile, the MAGA faithful are furious at Fox News, seeing this as the ultimate act of betrayal. Pro-Trump social media is currently filled with calls to boycott the network. The coalition that has sustained Fox's dominance of the media landscape for so long is fracturing in real time. Things became even more intense when some conservative commentators, people who are usually on Trump's side, acknowledged that he had crossed a line. Even former Fox host Megyn Kelly said that while she supports his right to make his case, accusing judges of bribery without evidence and calling for military tribunals against generals was genuinely dangerous rhetoric. When voices that are generally sympathetic to him start expressing this kind of alarm, that is the moment the rest of us really need to pay attention. Constitutional law scholars are already noting that his statements about the judge could constitute criminal witness tampering or obstruction of justice. Making threats against the very judges handling your cases isn't just a PR problem. It potentially violates federal statutes. Jonathan Turley, the George Washington University law professor who has often defended Trump's legal rights in the past, appeared on Fox News just hours after the incident and said the specific accusations against the judge were extraordinarily reckless. He noted that even if Trump truly believes these things, stating them as established facts on national television creates a level of legal exposure that no competent attorney would ever allow. Former federal prosecutor Eli Honig told CNN that the statements about the military were the most concerning of all. He explained that when a leader with a massive following describes specific individuals as traitors deserving of punishment, it creates a genuine and immediate physical danger for those individuals. History has shown us, time and again, that Trump's rhetoric leads to real-world threats against the people he targets. So let's look at what this incident really means. This isn't just a captivating story for the news cycle. It has serious, long-term consequences for our political discourse and our democratic norms. First, there is the immediate fallout for Fox News. The network faces potential legal liability for what was broadcast before the cut. The judge could sue. The generals could argue incitement. Fox's legal team is reportedly in crisis mode, assessing their exposure. But beyond the legal issues, Fox faces a strategic crisis. They need Trump, but they cannot control him. This tension was always there, but it is now impossible for anyone to ignore. The political implications are just as significant. Republican officials now have to decide whether to defend, ignore, or condemn these statements. Defending them is hard because they are recorded and specific. Condemning them risks Trump's wrath. Most will choose silence, but silence becomes harder as the story dominates the news. Looking ahead to the election, this incident provides opponents with powerful ammunition. The image of Fox News cutting away from Trump because he was too extreme is a devastating narrative. It undercuts any argument that concerns about his rhetoric are just partisan exaggerations. His own allies couldn't let him keep talking. Here is the deal. Fox News, the network that defended Donald Trump through everything for 10 years, just cut him off because his statements were too legally dangerous and morally indefensible to continue. He accused a judge of bribery by name without evidence. He accused generals of a coup. He appeared to call for the execution of people he considers traitors. This isn't just about one bad interview. It's about whether there are any limits left to the rhetoric that will be tolerated in our country. When even Fox News decides the risk is too high, we have entered genuinely unprecedented territory. If there are no consequences for these statements, then we are saying that leaders can accuse anyone of anything and face no accountability. It's about whether our public discourse has any boundaries at all. Keep an eye on this because the fallout is just beginning. The recording of those 90 seconds exists forever, and the stakes have never been higher. Yambarks.